So another question by Fred is, what is your opinion on the new changes to alignment that Wizards of the Coast have just announced? Are you familiar with those changes, first off?
Pretty familiar. The alignment stuff wasn't as interesting to me. So I'm going to say what I think it is, and correct me if I'm wrong. They removed alignment from a lot of NPCs and printed modules and monsters, and they removed a lot of lore that kind of created a set like alignment for monsters, saying like, oh, they're always evil, that sort of thing. I had a chat with some people on Discord about the latter part of what I just said, where a bunch of lore was removed, and I think that's unfortunate and kind of strange. People don't like retcons, right? So it kind of feels that way. So I think what it comes down to is there's a lot of nuance in D&D, and I think I don't know who's doing this, but apparently some people take it as very literal of like, if the book says they're always evil, and that's just like inherently how they are. I think most of us are adult enough to know that there's nuance in all things. And kind of like with my improv background, there's rules of improv until you master them, and then you know when to break them. And so when you learn the lore of a monster like a mind flayer, and it says like, oh, they're always evil, and they're like space-time travelers, and they eat brains, that's all they want to do, they're like the Borg from Star Trek, you could read it as that, and that's fine. But you could also read it as, okay, so when would a mind flayer go rogue and have a reason to ally with the party and maybe do things that aren't evil, or they do good things for evil reasons, And so that doesn't really bug me. I'm not someone who relies too much on books anyway. I kind of mentioned that before. Like when I run a module, like to me, 90% of it is made up anyway when you're running it. To me, it's weird that they are kind of like redacting all these things. I don't know the purpose. It might just be logical. I know Indestructible Boy made a video about it, and it's in my queue to watch, and I haven't watched it yet. So maybe I should have watched it prior to this question, and I'd have a better answer, because he probably would have summed it up really well. My take on it is I'm already not tied to what's in the book, and so I don't mind it. But I do like the erratas that clarify rules. But like lore stuff and redacting things, that's weird. But if they think it was problematic, then great. I thought it was cool that the drow, it's clarifying not all drow are the same. There's like certain ones from Menzoberranzan, and that's how they are typically. And so if they want to say that explicitly, cool, but redacting all the stuff about the Yuan-Ti, I really don't like that, because I love Yuan-Ti and that they're like emotionalists and stuff. I played a Yuan-Ti character, and it was really fun to explore being not emotional and figuring out how their place in the world would be when the Yuan-Ti were fallen. Like that was really fun for me. And so removing that, I'm like, people are missing out if they don't read that. But I already had the book, so I always have it forever. So
yeah, I think I'm in the same boat where I struggle to understand the thought process because I already break the rules, as you put it, I guess. I don't think I've ever read a monster's alignment. Actually, full stop. I was going to add more to that. I don't think I've ever read a monster's alignment, because in my head, if I read like the Mind Flare description box, I'd be like, oh, this is really cool. I could use them in this way and that way and this way and that way.
Yeah.
I don't really care if the book says they're all evil. So maybe it's a good change for like new people or people that don't understand D&D, maybe younger people, people who are like in their teens who are just picking it up, and maybe. But yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm a little bit confused as to why it happened. I don't think it needed to happen. I don't think it's a bad thing it happens though. I think because I ignore it so much in the book, either way it's the exact same to me. So if it says it or it doesn't say it, it doesn't actually matter, because the monster is the monster, and I'm going to use it however I want to use it.
Yeah. Maybe they only did it because good and evil is so subjective, and they philosophically didn't want to keep printing it. Or maybe it's because Taliesin from Critical Role once said he hates it, and they were like, he does? Maybe they changed it to his preference. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a good question though. It's an interesting topic, and I guess we'll see how it progresses throughout the next books and how they'll change the lore in the future.